Hello everyone. Today I am going to teach you the chapter, the sermon at Banaras, the 10th chapter of the book, The First Flight. The sermon at Banaras throws light upon the early life of Lord Buddha, who was originally born as a prince in a royal family. I repeat, he was born as a prince in a royal family. Okay. On being exposed to the sufferings of the world, which he was earlier shielded from. That means, when he was a prince, he did not know what sufferings and pains were. And all those pains and sufferings of the world were shielded. That means avoided from him. But somehow one day, when he came to know the sufferings and problems of the world, he left his princehood and went in search of salvation. That is, leaving all the worldly pleasures behind. He left all the luxurious and comfortable life and went in search of enlightenment. After attaining spiritual awakening, he gave his first sermon in the city of Banaras. By making a lady, Kisa Gautami, realize that men are mortal. By making Kisa Gautami realize that men or human beings are mortal and a wise person should not grieve at what he or she has lost, or should not grieve at the death of a particular person. If it happens so, we are not going to be happy, but it will lead us to problems, difficulties, loss of health. So, let's read the chapter. What is the sermon? Is it different from a lecture or a talk? Can this word also be used in a negative way or as a joke? Okay, let's find out. Gautam Buddha began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam in northern India. So, we know that Lord Gautam Buddha was born as a prince in a royal family. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. So when he was 12 years old, he was sent to learn the Hindu sacred scriptures, and for 4 years, and after 4 years, he returned home to marry a princess. So at the age of 12, he was sent to learn scriptures, holy scriptures, sacred scriptures, and then after 4 years, he returned home to get married. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. So he had a very happy married life for 10 years. They also had a son, and they both were suitable for each other. Very suitable, very appropriate, very perfect match. And the prince had a very happy married life for 10 years. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally monk begging for alms. So till the age of 25, he was shielded from all the difficulties and from problems of the world. Shielded is protected. He did not know what pains and sufferings were. But once when he was out for hunting, he saw the pains and sufferings of human beings. He chanced to see upon or come upon a sick man. He saw a sick man who was suffering from illness. Then he saw an aged man who was extremely very old. Then a funeral procession. That means when a person dies, तो उसका अंतिम संस्कार, funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So he saw 4 people. in different pains and suffering. Then these sights so moved him that he at once became a beggar and went out in the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. So he was so affected that he left his worldly wisdom, he left all his pleasures, comfort, luxuries, and set out, left his home to gain enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed, the pains and suffering that he had witnessed for the first time. It had a deep impact on him. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a fig tree, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. So he reached a particular place, he sat down under a tree, and he was determined that he would not move from that particular place, from the particular tree, unless enlightenment came to him. And then enlightened, after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bo tree. So when he gained enlightenment, he named that particular tree Bo tree, tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understanding. So whatever understanding of life he had after getting enlightenment, he started preaching, he started sharing his views on life, on pains and suffering, his feelings to the people in form of preaching. At that point he became known as Buddha, and then slowly he got a new name and he was now known as Buddha. The awakened or the enlightened, that means Jagrut or Jnani. He had become awakened, he got awakened, and now he was Jagrut. Okay, enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon. Sermon means kya? Upadesh, preaching. Buddha gave his first sermon, his first preaching in the city of Banaras, at the city of Banaras. So Buddha, when he got enlightenment, when he realized the feelings and sufferings of men, the first sermon, the first preaching that he gave, the first sermon he gave was at the city of Banaras. Most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganga. So they are the most dipping places, that means situated on the bank of the river Ganga. The sermon has been preserved and is printed there. Today also we can see those sermons because they have been printed. Okay, printed here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one's inscrutable kind of suffering. And his preachings reflect the mysterious, the pains and sufferings of human beings. Now, these are the sermons of Buddha. We are going to read one by one. 1. Kisa Gautami had an only son, and he died. So Kisa Gautami had a son, only son, and one day he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." So Kisa Gautami had only one son. He died. She took the dead body of her son to her relatives, to her friends, to her neighbors one by one, and she asked them to provide her medicine to cure her son. But everybody said that the boy was dead and she had become mad. She had gone mad due to the death of her only son. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request. So again, Kisa Gautami went to a man, and when she requested the man to give her medicines to cure her son, the man replied to her. And the man replied, "I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can." The man said that he cannot give thee, tujhe, thy, tumhara. He cannot provide her any medicine. But he can suggest a name of a particular physician who could provide medicines for her son. And the girl said, Pray, tell me, sir, who is it? And the girl, Kisa Goswami, requested that particular man that he should immediately tell the name of that particular physician. She would go to him, beg him to cure her son. And the man replied, go to Salya Muni, the Buddha. And the man at once told her that she should go to Salya Muni, that means Gautam Buddha. Kisa Goswami repaired, that means Kisa Goswami went to Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So Kisa Goswami at once went to Gautam Buddha. He was preaching, she went there, she requested him, she called him God, Lord, and she told him that he should immediately give her the medicine that would save her child, only child. The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seeds. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, when she requested Gautam Buddha to give her the medicines to cure her son, Buddha told her that she should bring handful of mustards. Kisa Goswami was very happy. She was to leave for her home to bring that mustard seed. There was no end to her joy. She knew that she could easily go and get mustard from her home. But when she was to leave to get the mustard, Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent or friend. Before she would leave that place to get the mustard, Gautam Buddha added that she should bring the handful of mustard from a particular house which has not lost a child, husband, parent or a friend. That means nobody had died in a particular house. She should bring mustard from the particular house where nobody has died till now. Poor Kisa Goswami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, here is mustard, see, take it. So when she asked for the mustard, they pitied. They took pity on her. They sympathized with her. They gave her the mustard. But when she asked, did a son or a daughter, when the particular person or the man, the woman was ready to give her the mustard, then she asked before taking the mustard that if a son or a daughter, a father or a mother die in your family, and they answered, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. And those persons, they said that yes, the number of living people are very less in the house, but the number of dead is much more compared to the living one. That means all the families in the village, in the town, everybody said that they had lost their parents, their children, their grandparents, their relatives, their blood relatives. She could not find any house which did not have a dead person, in which any family member had not died. Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our defeat creed. And then they told Kisa Goswami that she should not ask them about their grief. She should not increase their grief by asking about the dead people, by asking about the dead family members. And there was no house but could be that some beloved one had died in it. So she could not find any house in which not even a single beloved one had died. Kisa Goswami became weary and hopeless. She was hopeless. When Gautam Buddha told her that she should bring mustard, she was very happy. She felt that her son would be brought back to life. But she went door to door, People were ready to give her the mustard seed, but when she asked about the dead, there was not even a single house that nobody had died. She became hopeless and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. So she was exhausted. She lost all her hope. She tired, losing all the hope. She sat down along the roadside and kept on looking at the city. She could see the flickering of the lights. They flickered, then they extinguished. At last, the darkness of the night regained everywhere, and it became dark, and the whole city was engulfed in darkness. As she considered the fate of men, and their lives flicker up and are extinguished again, so she realized the life of human beings also flicker. And she thought to herself, how foolish am I in my grief. And then she realized her mistake. And she called herself foolish, that in her pain and in her suffering, she had forgotten that death is common to all. Death is common to all. Everybody who has taken birth, everybody who takes birth, has to die one day. Everybody. And death is common to all. Everybody. Even the richest of the world has to die one day. And she thought of to herself, how selfish am I in my grief. That she was so selfish in her grief, that she forgot that death was common to all. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. So, yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality. We all are mortal. But we can become immortal by our deeds, good deeds, by our beloved nature, who sheds greed. A person who is not greedy, who tries to go for universal brotherhood, who is very kind, very benevolent, who is concerned for humanity, that person is immortal. He will die, but he will always be remembered by the people, generation after generation. Then the Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is trouble and grief, combined with pain. And then when Kisa Goswami went to Buddha, he told her that the life of mortals in the world is trouble and grief combined with pain. So all the human beings who have taken birth, they have to die one day. Their life can never be a plain sailing. There are many ups and downs in life, and we are bound to face it. We cannot escape the pains and sufferings of the world. We have to bear it. We have to face it. The ups and downs, the obstacles, the problems in life, we cannot escape it. We cannot avoid it. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. There is no means. Gautam Buddha told Gautami, there is no means of avoiding death. The person who has taken birth has to die one day. There is no means. Nothing can prevent him from dying. Has to die, the person who has taken birth. After reaching old age, there is a person, when he or she reaches the old age, he or she has to die. Of such a nature are living beings. The living beings are of such nature that once they are born, they have to die one day. Some people are very fortunate that they reach the old age. But some are very unfortunate. They die at the age of 1 year, 2 years, even infants, 2-3 months old children also die. Some die at the age of 10, some die at 15, 18, 20. Very few are fortunate that they reach the age of 60, 70. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals when born are always in danger of death. When a fruit ripes, when it is ripened, it is in a danger of falling. So when a human being is born, when a human being takes birth, there is always the risk of death. I told you, not all the human beings who take birth reach the old age. Okay, some die at the age of 2 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 10, 20, 15, 16, 20, 25, 30. Some die very young, some die in teenage. So once you are born, throughout the life there will be risk of death. Once a child is born, there is risk throughout his life that he will die. So mortals, as all earthen vessels made by the potter and will be broken. So the potter makes the earthen vessels, and those vessels are bound to be broken one day. They will break one day. Same as the human beings who are born, they have to die one day. It is unstoppable. It cannot be avoided. Death cannot be avoided, and it is common to all the human beings. So is the life of mortal. Same is the life of mortal. Once born, you have to die. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. So both young and old, they have to die. If a person is foolish or the clever, they also have to die. If the person is millionaire or the richest person of the world or the poorest, they both have to die. Even the rich cannot prevent death. So death is common to everybody. All are subject to death. The person, once he takes birth, he or she is subjected to or bound to death. Of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son. Of those who overcome by death. Okay. So of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son. So if your time is fixed, time is over, that person has to die. Depart from life. You have to leave for heavenly abode. You have to leave this body. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen, their relation, kinsmen, blood relations. Your relatives also cannot save you. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried out. So, on the death of a particular person, the relatives, they come and lament. They weep, they express their grief, but one day they also have to die. Then the others will come and lament on his death. So the person who laments on our death, one day he or she also has to die. Others will come and lament on his death. One by one, mortals are carried off. Mortals, the living beings, we are bound to be carried off by death. Like an ox that is led to the slaughter, like an ox, slaughter, that means kasai khana. The ox are taken to the slaughter house. One day when our time will be over, that Yamraj will come and take us to the slaughter house. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. So this world is a mixture of death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve knowing the terms of the world. So the wise people, they do not lament, they do not keep on crying throughout their life on the death of a particular dear one. The people who are wise, okay, somebody has died. You can feel grief for some days, but you cannot engulf yourself in that particular grief throughout your life. It will affect you, your health, everything it is going to affect. So the people who are wise, they lament for some days and then they get on busy. They get busy with their work. They move forward in life. They don't come to a standstill by the death of that particular dear one. But they move on. The dead person has gone. But now for that particular person, life is there. Still he has to lead a comfortable, long life. Therefore the wise do not grieve. Knowing the terms of the world, if you keep on grieving on the death of a particular person for your whole life, you will die very soon. It is going to affect the whole life, even the whole family members will be affected by that. So wise people do not grieve over the death of a particular person, that is even the near one, for some time, for some days. But then again they will move forward with their life. Not from weeping, not from grieving, not from weeping, not from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. If anybody has died, if you go and cry your heart out, express your deepest grief, emotions. Not from weeping or from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. You cannot obtain peace of mind. Suppose somebody has died and if the particular person keep on crying, weeping his hurt out, that will not give him peace of mind. The more he will grieve, the more mentally tension he will get. The more physically weak he would become. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. That means if that particular person involves himself, keeps on lamenting over the death of his dear one for days, for months, for years, what will happen then? His pain will be greater and his body will suffer. That lamenting, that grief, that pain will affect his body. Because he will not have take proper sound sleep, he will not take food on time, he will not be happy, he will be lost in, he will be plunged in grief. So it will hamper his physical health, fitness. Then due to him all the other family members will also suffer. And it is true, the truth of life is that everybody has to die. That the particular person who is lamenting, one day he also has to die. He will make himself sick and pale. Yet the dead are not saved by lamentation. So he will destroy himself. He will make himself weak. And when you keep on lamenting for a particular person's death, or if you keep on expressing your grief, that lamenting and your expressing your grief will not cure the dead, will not bring back life to the dead person. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. So who wants to seek peace? That means somebody has died, you can grieve, you can lament, but it should not continue for months. So those who want to seek peace, they have to lament. If a near and dear one dies, we should be sad. But not it should not be a long life process. We will spoil ourselves. So that lamentation should be for a particular period and then we should move forward in life. He who has drawn out the sorrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. One who is able to come out of that particular grief, distress, then he will become composed and obtain peace of life. A person who will keep on grieving over the death of his dear one, and the other who comes out of it and moves forward in the life, handles his business, goes to his workplace. So there will be great difference. The person who keeps on lamenting, he will become physically weak. His family members will suffer due to it, but the other person who is on taking his business, doing his business, going to his office, doing his job, he will lead a comfortable life, happy life. His family members will also be happy. But the other person, he will spoil himself, ruin his business, even his family. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. So the person who comes out from the sorrow, who will shed his sorrow, shed his distress, who will overcome all those things, then what will happen? He will be free from all the tension and he will be a blessed person. Blessed means what? Blessed means, that means he will be living a very comfortable, happy life. His family members will also be happy. Everything will be good in his life. So, Gautam Buddha in his sermons has explained that we should lament, we should be sorrowful at the death of a relative, of our near and dear ones. But that lamenting, that sadness, that sorrow should not be for many days and months. If we do so, it will ruin us. It will ruin our family life, our mental, it will ruin us mentally. physically and our life also, everything. But the person who are wise, who lament, who express their grief for some time, for few days, and then they come out of that grief and move forward in their life. They are wise. They live a very happy and prosperous life. Okay, thank you.